My dad has always told me that nothing good ever happens after midnight. As an adventurous teenager, hitting the clubs and going out, my dad was forever telling me this. Probably encouraging me to come home early and stop talking to random boys. But now, as a night shift worker and as a registered nurse, I realised that actually good things can happen at night if we're smart about it. If you work the night shift too, you've probably read a bunch of articles talking about how bad night shift can actually be for our health. And while some of these claims are unfortunately true, I personally think that we have an enormous amount of control over which direction our health goes. Particularly when night shift is not a choice for you, and this could be because of the nature of your work, or just your personal situation is forcing you to work the night shift. Over the next couple of minutes, I want to talk all about why some people have suggested that night shift is really bad for our health. Then I want to give you some practical strategies that you can use to counteract these potential problems. One of the effects of working night shifts that is commonly discussed is we're at an increased risk of cardiovascular disease and also some cancers. And why researchers state these sort of claims is because the majority of night shift workers often do not get enough sleep. It's really hard to sleep during the day, particularly when your neighbours have no consideration for you working nights and your housemates just, well, let's just say their priorities don't align with yours. When we haven't had enough sleep, our body is stressed. Our heart has to pump harder, our organs go into overdrive, and different hormones get released to basically help us survive when we're really tired. And this puts a lot of strain on our heart and blood vessels, causing things like high blood pressure and also heart attacks. So what can we do when we can't just stop working nights? As I've mentioned in previous videos, our body loves routine. Whenever it detects change, it's like that colleague that we all have at work who kick and scream until they find their comfort zone again. Our body clock is exactly the same. So as a night shift worker, you have to try and find routine wherever you can. When you get home from a shift, that hour before you go to sleep, make it look exactly the same every time so your body knows what to expect and you can start winding down for bed. As you are working the night shift schedule, can you work in bigger blocks? Can you do a week of nights at a time rather than one-off nights? Constantly flicking back to the day shift schedule is not a great way to make friends with your body clock. This is why those who work permanent nights often don't find the schedule too bad because their body has found routine. So if you're approached by your manager asking if you'd consider working permanent night shifts, for the sake of your health, it's worth serious consideration if, of course, it works with your family dynamics. If you've got 1 or 2 nights off before you start working nights again, consider staying on a night shift schedule for those days off. As a lack of sleep was blamed for poor health, now's a really good time to think about how you can maximize your sleep during the day. Do you currently use sleep aids to help you sleep? Have you bought yourself some blackout blinds for your bedroom? Have you tried a pair of blue light blocking glasses that you put on about 90 minutes before you go to sleep to help block out that blue light from your device? Or have you tried an eye mask such as this one from Man to Sleep? So while you might have addressed the light, you also need to think about the sounds, which of course you can't block every sound out, but I think we can try. So get yourself some earplugs, a white noise machine, or consider using an eye mask such as this one, which has little speakers inside the eye mask that you can connect via Bluetooth to your phone and play any beautifully relaxing music that you want. Now, there's 2 other things that can negatively impact our sleep that we love so much, and that is caffeine and alcohol. If you're a lover of caffeine, try not to have it within 6 hours of going to sleep and switch to something else instead. In regards to alcohol, Opening up a beer and enjoying it on my back porch when I get home from a really tiring night shift is exactly what I need. You might be thinking, what about supplements like melatonin? This can work really well for some people to get that 7 to 9 hours sleep. If you've never tried it before though, start small, 1 to 3 milligrams is what I recommend, and see if it works for you. If you're enjoying this video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could click that like button. It allows this video to be seen by more night shift workers, and I think we can probably use all the help we can get. Night shift can cause weight gain and can also lead to things like diabetes and gastrointestinal problems. Now, there's lots of reasons for this. Firstly, we are eating when our digestive system is essentially sleeping. Overnight, we're drawn to foods that are really sugary and high in fat to give us that quick energy boost, because our body needs something to help it survive when it can't sleep. We don't want to exercise because we're super tired and fatigued and we can't be bothered. Or we rely on the vending machine and takeout for convenience. So what can you do? The first strategy I think you should consider adopting is to really think about when you're eating overnight. Yes, what you're eating is important, but when you're eating is often something that's forgotten. A simple way that you can remember this is when the sun is shining is a really good time for you to eat. Then overnight in your shift, minimize what you're eating. Your digestive system is having a snooze. So whatever you're eating takes much longer to digest, causing things like nausea and bloating, plus potentially a range of other health problems if we eat too much overnight. Now, this is going to come at no surprise, but if you are going to eat, make healthy choices. There's lots of companies out there who make this really easy, such as Fresh and Lean. They package these delicious meals and will literally deliver them to your door, so you don't have to do the meal prepping. If you want to do the meal prepping, amazing. Do it before your run of nights so you don't have to rely on the vending machine. Remember, if you buy the junk food and it's there in your pantry, you will eat it and you will take it to work, and that's what you're going to snack on. Instead of the more healthy choices like the veggie sticks that you dip into some nice hummus. Drinking more water overnight will also decrease the headaches and allow you to think more clearly, so keep a drink bottle in sight to remind you to drink. From a diet perspective, I drink Super Green Tonic, and it is phenomenal in terms of the energy that you get. So if you are feeling a little bit fatigued and you're starting to drink your 5th or 6th coffee for the night, switch to this. You will not regret it. I'll put some links in the description below this video on where you can get your hands on a canister or two. And lastly, from an exercise perspective, you don't have to go crazy here. You don't have to spend 3 hours at the gym to really make an impact. Any form of movement is going to help prevent that unnecessary weight gain. Working the night shift can cause vitamin D deficiency. Now, why this is a problem is because our bones and muscles need that sunshine vitamin to stay healthy. But obviously for us night shift workers, it's really hard to get the recommended amount because we're sleeping during the day when the sun is shining. So what can we do about this? In some parts of the world, you may not have a choice but to take a vitamin D supplement because the sun is only shining for a couple of hours in the middle of the day and you're asleep. But if where you live, the sun shines for longer throughout the day, can you enjoy dinner outside with your friends and family before you head off to the next shift? Can you make the most of the sun on your days off if you are going to switch back to the day shift schedule? In the afternoon when you wake up, can you take your dog for a walk or even take your kids down to the park when they get home from school? To get the recommended amount of vitamin D will vary greatly depending on where you live in the world. So I highly recommend jumping on Google and see how much sunlight exposure you actually need to get the right amount. Some suggest that working the night shift can increase the rates of depression. Now, why does this happen? Well, we've talked about the lack of sunlight, which isn't great for our mood, but Working night shift can also be pretty isolating because you're on the opposite schedule from your friends and family, but I don't need to tell you that. What might be more useful at this time is to talk about what we can do. I recently discovered an app called Cozy, which allows all family members to put their schedules together in one app, allowing you to easily communicate with each other. Now, if you're struggling to stay socially connected with those you love, but an app like Cozy is absolutely not what you need, I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of a recent video that I did, which is all about relationships and how to stay connected with your friends and family. If you're feeling a bit sad and just down in the dumps, which I think nearly every night shift worker can say they have at some point, is it time to talk to a professional and put some strategies in place? If you don't think you're at that stage yet, what other de-stress techniques can you start embedding into your life? There are a lot of services out there, but I think for us working nights, the first step is to acknowledge that we need help and then to reach out to the most appropriate person. Now, that could be a psychologist, but it also could be your manager at work. So please don't suffer in silence. Night shift can also cause an increased chance of injury when you're at work and on the job, but it also can cause more accidents when you're driving home. Now, we're making these errors because we're tired and we're fatigued. So what can we do? You could consider taking a power nap on your lunch or dinner break, but no more than 20 minutes. So consider bringing an eye mask to work, pop it in your work bag, and allow yourself to quickly fall asleep. Can you also sleep in your car before you drive home? Or if you are getting tired on your commute home, can you pull over on the side of the road and have a quick sleep? But just remember to set your alarm so you don't sleep for too long. When you're at work, but you cannot keep your eyes open and concentrate on the task at hand, can you get a colleague to review your work and to make sure that you haven't made any critical errors? And I guess it's important to point out now to not forget about what we talked about earlier. Getting a good night's sleep and a healthy diet. If you're doing these two things, the chance of you making errors and feeling so tired at work that you're messing up is probably less likely to happen. So is night shift bad for your health? It absolutely can be if you don't make conscious decisions to support it. But you can absolutely do this. When Dan worked nights, he lost weight and was the fittest he has ever been. And you can be like this too. Even though we hear a lot of bad things about nights, there are certainly lots of good things. If you're a night shift worker who needs to flip between day shift and night shift, we have a video just for you. So I recommend clicking that little box and watching that one next. I really appreciate you checking out this video, and we'll see you at the next shift.